How's it going? Welcome to a brand new episode of THR in Studio. I'm your host, Kevin Kenny, and our guest today has been acting on the big screen for the past 4 decades and returns in one of his most exciting roles yet.
The year was 1932.
As Sneaky Pete, Season 2 premieres March 9th on Amazon. Giovanni Ribisi, put it there, my friend.
Kevin, good to see you.
Thanks for stopping by today.
Yeah, thanks
and I
for
want
having
to
me.
take it back to actually square one with this show for just a moment here as we head into Season 2, because I actually think the origins of Sneaky Pete are kind of oddly inspiring in a way, because it was initially a CBS project.
Right.
And I think a pilot was even shot for CBS, as I understand,
Yes.
and then they scrapped it, and you thought the project was dead, and then it obviously came back to life in the biggest way possible as a part of Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's I'm not sure exactly what happened. Honestly, from my perspective, it was something that we did the pilot. Seth Gordon shot it, who's a director, great director. It was something that I jumped onto because I'm such a fan of Bryan Cranston, and he really has been involved and is still heavily involved. We did the pilot, and then we didn't get picked up, and 8 months went by, and then I got a call from Bryan and his partner James Degas saying that Amazon was interested, and I think we were all really excited about that because it really does become a different show, and it's something that I think it kind of found what it was, or what the initial concept was in the first place. It became that. Which was fortunate for us. And then Graham Yost came on board, and Fred Golan and Michael Dinner. And so it's been interesting. I mean, it's definitely a lot to do in a 4.5 month period, 10 hours of content, but I think that just speaks to why it's so important. Or how important it is the group that's involved in doing that. Yeah. And again, in that way, I'm also fortunate. I feel fortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it all worked out in the end, which is really
nice.
Yeah. You bring up Bryan Cranston there. I'm curious, you as an actor, I know had for a long time an aversion of sorts to television because of the way that I
think I've told one person that in my life, someone. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, no, but because of how television was traditionally produced, back before Netflix and Amazon disrupted everything.
Yeah.
What put you over the edge though to sign on to a project like Sneaky Pete? Was it Bryan?
Absolutely, but there's definitely more to it than that, because when I was younger, I think that the big focus for me was film, and my family, we're all such film buffs, and I think that I grew up during the blockbuster era in the 70s with Star Wars and Jaws, and then even early 80s like the Raging Bull. And I think that's where I personally got my inspiration. I think that, no offense to anybody, but there was a certain moment there where TV was almost a pejorative word, and then Amazon and Netflix and HBO really did. There was a fundamental shift where I guess the sort of the opportunities that you had to tell stories, or the kinds of stories, went from the independent world over to television, and it really is. There's just an incredible variety there now, and I guess for lack of a better expression, there's the intelligence that you would have, or that. Anyways,
I think what you're saying though is TV at a certain point in time in history was kind of brain candy, right? It was kind of like film is really where the deep stories lived, and now
or independent films, and so there was that factor, but then it was also definitely working with Bryan, and then the rest of the cast, Margot Martindale, Peter Garrity, I've always been a huge fan of, and I think that. It's just, again, it's a great group of people.
Yeah. You've said that taking the role on Sneaky Pete was part of a larger sort of lifestyle change, or at least I think you used the phrase a pre-midlife crisis, where you were consciously making or trying things that you said you'd never do. And Sneaky Pete, the role I guess on Sneaky Pete, Marius, was one of those things. But I was curious, what are some other things that were part of that sort of conscious decision making to try things you'd never done before outside of this role?
I don't know. I guess I think it's always important to work outside of your comfort zone, and I think that that I've done that in some ways that have felt successful, in some ways that I was like, what the hell was I thinking? But yeah, I think that I guess there's just that. I think you have to take chances in life, and again, it's just that thing, working outside of your comfort zone.
Totally. Yeah. You're such a unique actor. Everyone knew you were coming in this week, and I feel like actors, as accomplished as you, there are standout roles in their careers where everyone kind of universally knows them from something. Mm-hmm. And what struck me this week is that when people heard Giovanni was coming in, somebody was like, that's a bad guy from Ted,
Right.
Oh, that's the guy from Boiler Room, that's the guy from Saving Private Ryan, that's the guy from
The
Oneaters, back in the day.
Oneaters, yeah, right, yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
I'm curious to ask you, though, I'm not going to ask the cliche, what's your favorite role, what's the best role you've ever done, mm-hmm. But if you had to pick a role to be known for, what would it be?
That's a good question. I have no objectivity for that, and it really is. I guess I suppose it's whatever is in front of me at the time.
Okay.
I think that's just part of trying to focus and maintain that interest and that passion for working, and you do want to explore and expand always, and when you're given an opportunity to do that, then you grab it, But I guess right now it really is. I'm really happy with. That's putting it mildly. I'm really enthralled with again, the group of people that I'm working with. I think that's so important for me right now. The show Sneaky Pete, and then. Another thing that I'm working on is I'm being behind the camera and
well, you are directing this season, right?
Yeah, I directed
the
second.
2?
Yeah, the second episode, and that was interesting because that was something that as a director I never really thought that I would also work in front of the camera, but given the schedule and all of that, that was definitely challenging. But yeah, working on films in between seasons and putting things together in that way has been a primary focus for me.
Definitely. And let's talk season 2. You bring it up, it's kicking off March 9th on Amazon. You wanted to push the envelope, you've said, in season 2, going, building off of the success of season 1. In what ways, though, for fans of the show watching, do you feel you successfully pushed the envelope?
Well, I will definitely say season 2 is a lot bigger and sprawling, and there are a lot more storylines that all coalesce, of course, at certain points, and from that there's complexity in the best way. Mm-hmm. I think I'm honestly still digesting it, and it's I guess the tone of it feels probably a little bit more like a heist. Once the season 2 was all about, season 1, was all about Marius getting out of prison and trying to extricate his brother from the claws of Bryan Cranston's character, Vince. And so that was there was something that was more personal and more emotional, and this next season is great because it's really about Marius going out and getting a carrot. And again, this heist sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's a buffalo, a bison, literally a taxidermy buffalo in this season, which is always important.
Playing Marius is so interesting to me, and as a fan of the show, because you're essentially playing a guy that's playing a guy. And I was curious, you've played so many different kinds of characters throughout your career, from drama to comedy to everything
which
between.
Which I've been playing a guy who's playing, a guy, right?
But I'm curious, when you dedicate yourself to this role, which you obviously do so well, how much is it Pete and how much is it Marius?
Oh,
you kind of have to. I have to imagine you have to have a command of both characters to really understand.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know if it's that as much as. That's interesting because I guess it's just it's the mentality from, I guess, Marius's viewpoint, which is really a con artist, and I think a con artist from the books that I was reading and the whatever research I might have done. It really is about feeling seated into that life and sort of putting yourself into that as, you know, so it's Marius as if he was that. Because he also exploits the fact that they haven't seen him in 20 years, and you know that's a lifetime, and so yeah, I mean I think there's that, but then there are opportunities for Marius and the character to go and be and play different characters. You know, there was, I think in season 1 there was a character from Montreal, and there's a bit of that in season 2, which is also pretty fun.
Yeah, I imagine.
And I think that's also the nature of the show. I think as much as I think that there's a great balance between the emotional factors and the relationships in the show with the comedy and sort of like ridiculous nature that he seems to get him, or the situations that he seems to get himself in.
Right. Just getting back really quickly before we let you go today about the directing, that's very exciting, you know, as a fan of your work. Is that something more we're going to see from you? Are you getting more and more? Because I know you're very passionate about directing.
Absolutely. That's one of my big focuses. And yeah, we're working on something that I shouldn't talk about too much right now, but I'm really excited about it.
Right on. Well, in the more immediate future, Sneaky Pete Season 2 premieres March 9th on Amazon. Giovanni, thanks so much,
Thank you
man.
so much, man.
Pleasure.
Thanks for talking. Yeah.